What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from Zoom again, and this time we are here with Lars of the Almighty Soen. Great to be able to talk with you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me on.
Anytime, man. Anytime. I am so excited. This month, I will finally be popping the Soen cherry, as I like to call it, and finally seeing you guys live. This new live album that
Oh, great.
this new live album that you released, Atlantis, it's coming out on the 18th. Is absolutely awesome, featuring great songs all throughout your catalog, including an epic Slipknot cover. Could this live album that we're getting maybe be a good idea or a good representation on what to expect on this up and coming Soen North American tour?
Well, I don't know if I have to disappoint you now, but actually not. We do this show now and then, but it's like we have two different shows that we're doing. And on this North American tour, we would do the Imperial album tour. So it's going to be heavy and it's not going to contain this. We're not going to bring the string quartet and extra choirs. It's just going to be a heavy, prog metal show. And but this lies yeah, so this like we have like been at some locations we've been doing like two nights in a row, right? So one heavy show and then one of the softer, more of like the album that we're releasing now, the Atlantis show.
Mm. Yeah.
But this tour is going to be heavy and it's going to be full on.
Yeah, I'm excited though. One question I wanted to ask about this Atlantis live album is I love it when there's bands that bring in this sort of orchestral element. You know, we've seen it with bands such as Anathema, for example, that's been able to do it. We've seen it with so many other bands. I think Dimmu Borgir did it and Flesh God Apocalypse did it. By having this sort of like string quartet and this orchestra that we're hearing on Atlantis, do you think that almost brings like a new layer of meaning to the song or a different type of emotion than what we would hear on the original?
I mean, for us as a band, we always knew that that kind of layering were there hidden in the distorted guitars and all the heavy drumming and all. I mean, we knew that within the arrangements there's so much melody going on. There's so much backing vocals and so much more to the arrangement than just the heavy sound of distorted guitars and heavy drums. So we took the opportunity to do this and really bring those more like melodic elements of our music forwards. And also we thought that the songs are strong, they're stronger than just like a headbanging song. So we wanted to show the layers and just, here's the song, the song is strong enough to present it in this kind of setting. So that's what we wanted to do.
Definitely.
Show that to the world.
And being the keyboard player of Soen as well as contributing guitars and vocals, but I've always said keyboards are like the butter of music because they could go with anything. I don't care if you're playing hip hop or you're playing grindcore, you could put keyboards with anything in a way. So did that maybe allow your instrumentation to also shine a little bit more by having this sort of orchestral element?
It's funny that you say that because when I joined the band in 2014, the joke was like, I am instead of backing tracks. Because, someone started as a four-piece, but then they added me that could play like multiple instruments and do sing and whatever they needed, I could do it. So it was like, okay, instead of bringing in backing tracks, they bring in me. so in a way, and I'm happy to have that role. And I also took care of the arrangement for the strings and stuff like that. So I guess you're right. It's that sense of that's how you look on music arrangements. What can you add? What can you highlight? What can you make better?
Yeah.
With your.
Definitely. You could be almost called the human sample in a way. Like and you let
right.
And you led me perfectly into the next question actually cuz Tellurin was actually your first contribution to Soen, right? Or did you come in after that in 2014?
I joined before the album was released, but I didn't record the album. So I joined just to do the live shows for that tour. So, yeah.
So when you became a member of Soen and for the making of albums such as Lakaya and Lotus and now with Imperial, were you kind of looking at Tellurin and Cognitive being like, okay, this is how I have to play, this is what's needed, or were you kind of allowed to bring a lot of your own mix into Soen?
No, I got a pretty nice. I mean, as being I don't have to compete with other guys. I mean, the lead guitar is the lead guitar, the bass is the bass, the drums is the drums, and so I could really, I had the freedom from day one to add whatever I felt was necessary for the song and the live arrangement. And of course, when I look back on the first two albums that I don't play on live, I mean, I don't play on the studio, to do those songs live, of course, I like, okay, here we have two guitars, so I should probably do, bring my guitar and do the other guitar part here. No, I had a lot of freedom. Martin always gave like gave me complete freedom to do whatever I wanted to do. Of course, if I overdo it, if I do something too weird, he will let me know. But
Yeah.
no. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you saw
And
me,
of course, with Joel also,
oh yeah,
sorry.
if you saw me looking at my phone before, that wasn't my phone. I'm just adjusting the levels on the computer. So
No problem. Yeah.
anybody watching this, I'm not as rude as you think. But you were saying?
No. When it comes to Joel's singing, I mean, I do a lot of backing vocals for him, and of course he had a say, like which part and in what way, where I should go above and below and whatever. But at the same time, I was given a lot of freedom from day one, so
Yeah. Do
I
you,
guess that's why I.
do you have like a different attachment to playing the material off the first two albums as you do with the three albums that you wrote? Is there like a different emotional energy that you channel into it, or do you relate to the song a little bit differently?
Not anymore, because we've been. I mean, for 8 years I've been in the band, and we actually nowadays it's not so many of the first two album songs that we still play, but when we did, they sort of became my own. So I know I mean the live version of the song is always going to be different from the recorded version anyway. So you make it your own,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
yeah, you own the song.
Yeah. I was also going to ask is being that this year does mark 10 years since the debut of the first Soen album, I was wondering if we
Mhm.
were going to get some deep cuts off of Cognitive.
Well, you got Savia on the Atlantis recording, and we basically always play that live. We've been talking about bringing other songs from that album back. We'll see. Right now, I don't know, but we have a bag of songs that we can pull out. But it's a matter of making a great show, and the set list we have been doing for this tour is also, it's one thing is to highlight all the albums. The other thing is to give a good show with a good song pacing and mixing the soft with the heavy and going through all the emotions. So it's a mix of the both. But.
Yeah. When I spoke with Joel last year, it was like my second interview of 2021, and it was right before Imperial came out. Now that Imperial is out, though, I do gotta say I think that this is Soen's best material. Like every album just kept getting
Thank
better
you.
and better, and I definitely think Imperial defines really what Soen is about. When it came to the making of this album, when you look to tracks such as Deceiver or Monarch, or you end with Fortune or something like that, every song has its own like emotional vibe behind it. Is every song representative of a particular emotion that either you or Joel or Martin were feeling at that particular time? Or do you look at music as a pure escapism where you don't want to necessarily address your emotions and you kind of want to address an external subject matter?
Wow. I mean, it's a hard question to answer because every song, the emotion you have with a song might be different when you're working on the song before it's released. When you're working on the demo, when you're like writing the song, you're putting it together. When you first and then when you hear the first mix, you get a different emotion, and then you have a third emotion when you're playing it live. So it all morphs. So it's hard now to, I think, like let's say Deceiver, for instance, that was my favorite song when I from Imperial album when I heard it as a demo, and then it's like got this. It's different. It's just morphs. It's hard to tell really.
Yeah.
Sometimes for a song that you really enjoy playing live doesn't mean that you like to listen to it, and it can be vice versa.
Yeah.
So it's hard because when you're so involved with it, it's hard to step back and look at it from from a outside perspective.
Definitely, definitely. I don't understand how Bon Jovi could be playing the same material for fucking what 35, 40 years. So like, you know,
Yeah, right.
yeah. So like, but there definitely has to be, there's no way you're going to feel the same way about a song years later after you finish it. It's almost like falling in love and expecting to feel the same exact way that
Yeah,
entire
yeah,
time. It's just not going to
exactly.
happen.
And when you play a song live, sometimes it's like, yeah, this song is fun to play because it's got a funny part to play, or I like to sing that harmony part over Joel's voice, or this breakdown. The audience always clap in a certain way, and I like that. So it doesn't really have to do. Sometimes it doesn't have to do with the song anymore. It has to do with the fact what's happening when you're playing it live, and then maybe you go back, you listen to the record in the car or something like that, and like, oh yeah, that was the emotion I had from the start.
Yeah.
Because it's, yeah,
Do, and when
different feelings.
And when you're playing a set list live and you're playing songs from all five Soen albums, if you let's say you start off with an Imperial song and then you move on to like a cognitive song and then move on to Lotus, is it almost kind of like you're going through many different emotions at the same time? Do you almost feel like it's almost like a time warp? So if you play a Lotus song where you feel like the Lars from 2019 in a way?
No, man, no, man, not for us. Maybe for the audience, but as a player, we're the band, we're in the moment. It's always about here and now. Always, when you play live, it's here and now. It's the interaction with the audience. It's it's the emotions you had backstage 10 minutes ago, like before you hit the stage. It's the vibe of the room. It's
Yeah.
so it's yeah, it's always here and now.
Mhm. When you're working on a song in the songwriting, sometimes you're working on a song for days, weeks, months. If you're Tool, 13 years. Like, do you find it like do you find it like the longer you're working on a song, the harder it is to sort of like capture that moment in a way, or is that not even a priority really in the songwriting?
Now it's a good question. Like last 3 weeks, me and Martin have been having like long sessions every day, basically, sitting in the studio and just working on the new songs that we are supposed to hit the studio and record in January, February. So and when we work on those songs, it's like maybe it's an idea that Martin been working on for let's say like 6 months, and then I come in, listen to the song, and that suddenly it just finalizes because different set of ears comes in and makes all the difference. And I have ideas that I present to him, and he does the same thing. Like, okay, you just take away this part, move this part, fix this, and then suddenly it's there. So when you're sitting alone with your it's hard because you get into your little bubble, and it doesn't necessarily get better or worse if you work it more. It's just going to be more work. So I think it's important to bring in the extra set of ears, and I think this band is really good at doing that because we have a lot of talented guys in the band. So
Definitely. And you led me perfectly into this next question I wanted to ask, actually, because when it comes to a band in general, is it really better if everybody is on the same page and feels the exact same way about the material? Or being that, you are all individuals, you all have your different talents and experiences, could maybe feeling differently about a certain song or having different ideas of the direction maybe actually help with the songwriting in a way?
we always have different ideas and always different feelings about the songs.
Mhm.
So, but then again, I mean, it's very clear that Martin started the band. It's his vision. Joel was there from the beginning. He's like sense of melody, and so it's kind of a hierarchy, if you like. Like you need to. It's good to have a lot of creative people in the band, but it also good to have one person that can just like, okay, but we're going with this. Yeah,
Mhm.
at a certain point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if we would bring in everybody's idea, it'd just be a mess. But you'd be surprised if you were hanging out with us backstage and listen to what kind of music we will listen to. Because within the five of us, it's so much different music from all over the world and all kind of genres. And so of course, there's a metal and prog in there, but it's so much of everything else.
Definitely, definitely. I
So
could
yeah.
see
Mm.
Soen playing with like a variety of different styles of bands. I could see you maybe playing with like a very progressive band. Like I could see you play with like a Neobliviscaris or maybe a Porcupine Tree. But I could also maybe see you with like a
Hmm.
technical death metal band like Obscura, or even if they were still
Mm.
around. Like I could see fans of Death appreciating you. I do see some remnants of albums such as Human or Symbolic or The Sound of Perseverance on there as well. Not as much
Ah, cool.
screaming,
Yeah.
but
Mm.
definitely crossing
Yeah,
the
yeah,
genre.
no. No.
Yep.
Ah,
Now,
cool. Yeah.
now, when it comes to you for the songwriting, when it's your turn to lay down the parts and it's your turn to contribute, do you prefer to be in the company of your other bandmates when it comes to recording and writing, or isolation being such a great fuel for creativity, you prefer to be more alone in your own element when there's nothing between you and your instrument?
I actually had that conversation with Martin yesterday, and I like to be in my own bubble, to sit alone and work on the parts, and but at the same time, sometimes it's like 4 times as fast and gets 10 times as good if you sit with somebody else, because the extra set of ears that can filtrate your thoughts. Because if you sit alone, you get very self-critical, and maybe your ideas take off in they go off too far in some direction that doesn't suit the song, because you fall in love with your own little part. So I mean, it's like we when we write a song, we produce each other in the band.
Mm-hmm.
We help each other to really bring out the best for the song, because in Soen it's all about the song. We don't play complicated because it needs to be, because it's a prog band. I mean, if it doesn't need to be complicated, we take it away. uh, So everything is for the song always.
Mm-hmm.
No technical adventures just because we can.
Yeah, no 17 and a half minute long guitar solos and so on.
Not yet.
Yet. Mwahaha, I can't wait.
You never know. You
Yeah.
never know.
Never say never, right?
Sure.
Yeah. But when it comes to getting that creative energy to think of ideas or just that inspiration, the impulse to create, does that just come out of nowhere for you, or do you have like a specific place that you like to go to in order to think of and cultivate ideas?
I mean, in Soen, like, let's be set this straight. Most of the song ideas comes from Martin,
Mm-hmm.
and then we all contribute to the song. So then it doesn't come from nowhere; it comes from Martin, and
Mm-hmm.
then we like bounce off his ideas and evolve them and contribute to them. But most of us are also, we write songs, we write stuff. Not that we have any outlet for it, but for me, I'm the most creative when it has a purpose. Uh, if I don't have anywhere to if I don't have an outlet for my music, I'm probably not going to write anything. But if I have outlets, then I can sit like 10 hours a day and have 10 songs done in a week. So it's all about having a purpose for it, at least for me.
Mm-hmm. But like I'd imagine too, like because if Martin hands you the song, sure it may be his idea. So I'd imagine there's certain songs where you know immediately what to do, but then there's stuff where you kind of have to like sit
Mhm.
with it for a while and maybe like put it aside and look for different ideas as well, right?
Sure, definitely. And I mean, some of the songs, of course, I mean, we're human beings. So some like, I don't get this, I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a pretty straight relationship like that. So, it's a high ceiling within the band. So we can be really like open about what we like and what we don't like. And I think it's a very healthy environment.
Mm-hmm. When you play live, we talked a little bit about this before, but do you feel
Mm.
that there's a similar energy into playing live as there is with songwriting, or do you almost consider them two completely separate arts altogether?
Yeah, we're talking about Atlantis. It's the same because it was the same, because we actually played that record live. But otherwise, I would say it's different. I mean, we the record is out, and we don't use backing tracks in this band, so we know that we can't do every piece of arrangement and every piece of layering of the guitars and vocals and keyboards and whatnot. So in a way, it's the same, because you start from scratch again and build it up to a working live version. So me and Cody, we have a spreadsheet like, okay, who's who's doing this part, who's doing that part, who sings that, you know, which voice would fit best to do this harmony here. And so that way we build it up from scratch again, like we would do in this for a studio recording. But then once you're done and you go out and play, it's a completely different animal, because the live show is the live show, and that's so much about interacting with the audience.
Definitely, definitely. And like, do you almost feel like you have to practice crowd interaction and stage presence in a way as much as you have to practice the material, or is that just something that comes naturally as you play more and more shows?
I would say it comes naturally. We don't practice that. We barely talk about that. Like, and that's why. I mean, when we look at the show, if we see some footage from the show, we can see the difference if it's early on the tour, on a new album tour, or if it's later, because you find your positions, you find your little details there. But no, we don't talk about it. We just let it happen.
Okay. And the other question I wanted to ask about creating live, this is almost kind of like a little debate that I like to have in a way, because in the end, when you are playing live, you are taking songs that, you wrote and put on an album that we listen to, and you're just replicating them in a live setting. I'd imagine you're playing them kind of like the same way and all that. So, playing live is a great experience. It's cathartic, it's romantic, but is there anything creative about playing live if there's such a
Oh
replicating
yeah.
element?
I mean, it's details that probably most don't recognize, but we do as a band. Like this small, how you end, how you do this little extra pause, and it's small things happening that evolving all the time. And yeah, it's definitely creative. And when I'm at the keyboard, I never play like a song like Lucidity. I never play the same 2 nights in a row. It's always gonna be a little bit different, depending on the vibe.
That's good
So
marketing.
yeah, yeah.
That's good marketing. I'm going to try to see you at every show on this tour now. See if I notice the differences.
Well, for you, maybe it's gonna be similar, but for us,
Fair enough. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today and for such an awesome chat. Just with this North American tour that's coming up, we're very, very excited for it. I'm so thankful I live 4 blocks away from the
so are we.
Gramercy Theater. Is there just anything else with Soen that you would like to promote? With we got the Atlantis live album coming out November 18th. You're well into the record cycle for Imperial. What else could we be expecting from Soen in the coming months or years?
Yeah, you're New York based, right? So I hope to see as many of the New Yorkers like in the 30th of November, for
Yeah.
sure. And well, I mean, we're looking forward to do more, to hitting more of the U.S. market now, because finally we're doing the first tour. So finally,
Yeah.
after 10
Finally.
years as a band, so yeah, it's been way overdue. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
after watching videos and listening and even listening to this Atlantis album, I know it's going to be worth the wait.
thank you. Yeah, we were all super excited to do this. So yeah, it's gonna be a blast, definitely, and we're gonna make it happen more often. See.
Can't wait. Well, thank you so much, everybody. We are here with Soen. Check out their latest album, Imperial, and check out their new live album, Atlantis, coming out November 18th. We will see you next time on Heavy New York.